Horror Story 1. The Haunted Mansion Secret. There was an old mansion near a village that people called the Haunted Mansion. No one dared to spend the night there. One day, 4 friends decided to challenge the fear and spend the night in the mansion. As the night grew darker, strange noises began echoing through the mansion. Shadows moved along the walls, and chilling breezes swept through the corridors. Suddenly, a door creaked open on its own, revealing an old diary. The diary contained a chilling story. The mansion's owner had killed his wife out of suspicion of infidelity. Just then, a woman's scream echoed through the halls, and a ghostly figure in a white sari appeared before them. The friends tried to escape, but the doors of the mansion slammed shut. The next morning, the villagers found only the diary and the charred clothes of the 4 friends. To this day, people still hear screams and eerie whispers coming from the mansion at night. Horror Story 2. The Cursed Forest. Raju and his friends went trekking in a dense forest. The guide warned them not to go near the Black Cave, but they ignored his advice. When they reached the cave, the atmosphere changed. Darkness loomed, and an unsettling silence enveloped them. Inside the cave, a pendulum was hanging, dripping with blood. As Raju touched the pendulum, the surrounding trees came to life. The branches began to grab his friends one by one. In the midst of panic, Raju noticed an inscription on the cave walls. Anyone who enters this cave will become part of it. The next morning, the rescue team found the cave surrounded by 4 trees. Each tree bore the faces of Raju and his friends, frozen in expressions of terror. Horror Story 3. The Bloody Doll. Neela was a girl who loved collecting dolls. Her parents gifted her an old, antique doll with a peculiar smile on its face. At night, Neela felt like someone was watching her. The doll would mysteriously appear in different parts of the house. One night, Neela woke up to see the doll holding a knife, slowly moving towards her. Terrified, Neela threw the doll out of the window. But the next morning, the same doll was back on her bed. This time, it had a note in its hand that read, "Don't try to get rid of me. I will always be with you." To this day, Neela tries to remove the doll, but no matter what she does, it always returns. Horror Story 4. The Well of Souls. On the outskirts of a village stood an old well, feared by all and called the Well of Souls. Years ago, a cruel landlord had thrown his laborers into the well alive, cursing it forever. One night, Ramesh and his friends decided to investigate the well. As they peered inside, they felt an invisible force pulling them down. Terrified, they tried to run, but they heard heavy footsteps following them. Suddenly, Ramesh vanished. The next morning, the villagers found blood-red writing on the well's wall. "Anyone who comes here will stay forever." Ramesh's body was never found, but locals say his spirit now resides in the well's waters. Horror Story 5. The Cursed Temple. In a remote village, there was an ancient temple known as the Cursed Temple. It was said that anyone who prayed there met a dreadful fate. A curious researcher from the city decided to uncover the mystery. He stepped inside and found strange statues with twisted faces. When he rang the temple bell, the doors slammed shut on their own. That night, the village echoed with blood-curdling screams. The next morning, villagers discovered the temple covered in blood, but the researcher was nowhere to be found. To this day, locals believe that ringing the temple bell awakens vengeful spirits. Horror Story 6. The Ghostly Station. On the outskirts of the city was an abandoned railway station where no train ever stopped. Locals believed that anyone who visited it at night disappeared without a trace. One night, a traveler named Suresh decided to spend the night there. At midnight, an old train pulled into the station. Inside, Passengers dressed in white sat motionless, their faces obscured. Gathering his courage, Suresh boarded the train. As soon as he entered, the train began moving. He was never seen again. The next morning, the station master found Suresh's bag on the platform, but there was no sign of him. People say the train carries the souls of the dead to the afterlife. Horror Story 7. The Silent Mansion. A wealthy businessman moved into a grand mansion with his family. On the very first night, his young daughter claimed to have seen a dark shadow in her room. At midnight, the businessman saw a door creak open on its own. Each day brought more strange occurrences. Bloodstains appeared on the walls, and haunting screams echoed through the halls. One day, he discovered an old chest containing a diary. It revealed that the mansion had been built by a sorcerer who had performed dark rituals there. The sorcerer's spirit was now trapped within the mansion. Fearing for their lives, the businessman and his family tried to leave, but the mansion's doors would not open. The next day, the mansion stood silent, with no sign of the family. The mansion remains abandoned, and locals avoid it at all costs. Let me know if you'd like more stories or any of these expanded further.